From our studios in New York, this is Charlie Rose.
Morgan Freeman is here. In 1994, Nelson Mandela was asked who should play him in the movie of his life. His answer, Morgan Freeman. 15 years later, Freeman has just done that. He stars as the South African leader in the new film Invictus. It is the story of Mandela's effort to unite his country, using perhaps its most divisive symbol, the Springboks rugby team. Here is the trailer for the film.
I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.
Today, President Mandela takes office in Pretoria, balancing black aspirations with white fears.
Remember this day, boys. This is a day our country went to the dogs.
Brothers, sisters, this is the time to build our nation.
All of the whites are cheering for South Africa. All of the blacks are cheering for England. How long before the World Cup?
Don't get your hopes up. We're a damn disgrace.
I've been invited to tea.
Who?
The President.
Tell me, Francois, how do we inspire ourselves to greatness when nothing less will do? How do we inspire everyone around us?
What did he want?
I think he wants us to win the World Cup.
This rugby is a political calculation.
It is a human calculation.
According to the experts, we'll reach the quarterfinals and no further.
According to the experts, you and I should still be in jail.
Times change. We need to change as well. We'll become more than just a rugby team.
Did you ever imagine this?
How could I?
Listen to your country.
Now you spend 30 years in a tiny cell and come out ready to forgive the people who put you there.
I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.
I am pleased to have Morgan Freeman back at this table. Welcome, sir.
Thank you so much, Charlie. It's wonderful to be back with you.
So, it was always, among all of us who love politics and love movies and love you, that there was no one, it was a foregone conclusion that you were Mandela.
Well, after he said that, how could it go otherwise?
No other way. No.
Right.
No.
And, it's a big honor. Right, okay, fine.
I don't know of anybody who has more respect than he does over a wider range of people in the world.
No, there couldn't be. He's earned it with his life, from the time he stood up in court and said that a democratic world was what he lived for and was willing to die for, and had his sentence reduced from death to life. He's been our hero.
And even a hero to his jailers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Because he learned or knew that kindness was the most potent weapon at his disposal, and he used it. He coerced them with kindness.
And revenge would be too counterproductive and destructive.
Oh, it would have destroyed the country. It would have gone up in flames. It would have been the Congo. It would have been, what was that country Rwanda was in?
Yeah. So, when he first mentioned that you should play him, were you in his presence at that time?
No, I wasn't. But I was in South Africa at the time.
And when did you first meet him?
And I met him right after he left the presidency.
Yeah.
Yeah, Anand Singh arranged
the
it.
film producer who made this movie.
Yeah. Well, he didn't make this one. He had the rights to Long Walk to Freedom.
Right. That's right.
And so he was, of course, orchestrating all of my meetings with Madiba. So I told him, well, okay,
Madiba's what Mandela's
there's his
called by
tribal
his
name.
friends, right?
Yeah. And everybody in South Africa calls him that, and everybody who knows him well calls him that, so I'm sorry. Anyway, I told Anat that I needed to get to him, and he organized a meeting. I told Madiba, I need to be able to see you as often as I can, to get close and hold your hand. And he said, of course, you know. And we did. Over the years, I saw him all around the world, and we would sit and talk, or I'd just watch him and learn him.
What did you see?
The basic thing that you need in order to play a living human being, I think, is what goes on inside, how much energy is needed to be that person. And with Mandela, it's a very low energy ebb.
Right.
He's very quiet. Right. Inside, he's quiet. And I learned that, and then that's the main drive.
You have to learn patience in part if you're him.
Yeah.
And control, because you're in prison for 20-some years.
27. Right. Yeah, all told, 27 years, 25 on Robben Island.
But were you looking for a handle, or does Morgan Freeman need a handle to get inside of him? The way he walks, the way he stands, the way he breathes, the way he uses his eyes.
Well, I don't know if all of that is or is not a handle, but yes, you need to watch for the nuances. You know, for instance, if I was going to play you, it would be just the most quiet type of performance, because you have quiet eyes.
Yeah.
You know that, don't you?
Yes.
Yes, you probably cultivated.
No,
it's just where you are.
Yeah, I wish it was otherwise, but I mean, it's sometimes been called sleepy eyes. And,
no, they're not sleepy. You're totally alive, but you're quiet.
Yes, that's true. So what did you see, though? I mean, tell me about this man when you're up close and you have your eyes to observe him. What about character?
I don't know.
Passion?
I mean, I've been asked and asked and asked. What do you use? What do you see when you look at him? And I don't see much. I feel it all.
Yeah.
You know? If I can sit and hold his hand, and I mean, he's not really a hand holder, but he's African, so they can do that without the overlay, you know?
Yeah.
And I explained to him why that was important to me, and he allows it. So it's not, I really have trouble explaining it, because I think it's sort of like intellectualizing what I do, and I can't.
No, I understand. I'm not asking you to do that.
I know you're not. It's just.
But there is some. If you say Nelson Mandela and ask somebody to choose a word,
right,
they would say dignity.
Gravitas. Yeah. First word. It's first order. He is that. Yeah. And he's commanding. He has a most commanding presence without being lordly. He doesn't walk into a room as Nelson Mandela. He walks into a room as Madiba, as Nelson. He doesn't take the room gives itself. It's a quality he's always had, I think. When he first got into Robben Island, and they issued short pants to everybody except to Kathy. There was Ahmed Kathrada, the one Indian among them. Kathy rejected his long pants, and Madiba said, no, put them on. We're all going to have long pants. And then he said to himself, they're going to call me Mister. How did he do that? So he hears that a guard's child is sick. guard comes to work and he says, "Good morning. How is your baby? Is she all right today?" Things like that.
You know, and you've even been quoted as saying this, I understand why they want Morgan Freeman. I, Morgan Freeman, know who Morgan Freeman is. I know what he has done. I know what he can do. And therefore, I know why they want Morgan Freeman. Nelson Mandela understands who he is.
Yes.
He understands what it means to be Nelson Mandela.
Yes. It is, for him, was, because I got something to tell you. It was for him a big obligation. It was the obligation of his life. He doesn't feel like the big success that we all hold him up as. He thinks of himself personally, deep inside, as a failure because of his family life. He couldn't do both.
South Africa became his family.
Yeah. And so his obligations to his village, to Winnie, to his son, to Zenzi, that it weighs on him today. And it infuses his being with a sadness.
He wasn't the father he would like to have been.
That he feels he should have been.
Should have. And you?
Pretty much same.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Because you wanted to be what?
I wanted to be an actor.
But you wanted to be good. You wanted to be not just an actor.
Well, if I could be one, I was going to be a good one.
You were going to be a good one.
Yeah.
Roll tape. Here it is.
I've got a grandson who is 4, who turned 4 in September. I asked him on his birthday, "What do you want me to buy for you?" He said, "I want a motor car." I said, "Let's go to the shops." We went. We got out of the car. He was holding my hand, my left hand. And we went to the shop which sells motor cars. But as we walked in, crowds milled round and they shook my hands. Now, he left this hand and came to grab this hand. So I said to him, "Well, can you hold this hand?" He said no. He held his hand because he saw me greeting other people with his hand. I stopped being his grandfather. I was now a grandfather of so many people he did not know. He was so upset that even when we entered the shop with vehicles, with motors, he was no longer interested. That is the type of experience we're having. A grandfather who is a grandfather not of my grandchild, but of the people around. It's a very painful experience, but nevertheless, we have to commit ourselves completely to the organization and to try to hope that your children and grandchildren will understand.
Your response?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly what you were talking about.
Exactly. Yeah. It's that hope that someday you'll be forgiven. You'll understand.
And you feel the same way?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But would you make the same decision if you had it to do over?
Absolutely.
I would too. Yeah. Because you would never have been happy if you had not discovered what you were made out of.
Yeah, exactly.
Me too.
Yeah.
In a different way than you or Nelson Mandela, but anyway. I've never understood, because it's such a powerful life, why A Long Walk to Freedom hasn't been made into a movie, or has it?
No, it hasn't.
The
problem with it is, as a movie, that the book, there is just entirely too much information in it, and no one has ever been able to reduce it to an essence. Because I think if you were going to try to do Long Walk to Freedom, you would do it as a 10-part series, you know.
Not a bad idea.
Yeah. Somebody might think of it that way.
Would you do it as a 10-part series?
No.
Because?
I've done it.
And this offered you the opportunity to find the slice that defined him.
Exactly. Exactly. We had just a wonderful story that came together from George Carlin, who wrote Playing the Enemy.
Right.
And I think that he and Tony Peckham, who wrote the script, sort of combined efforts, shared information. And then Tony wrote this incredible script. And that's it. You don't need to go any further than that to define Mandela as president of South Africa.
So we come out of this knowing what about him?
I think we come out of it having some idea of who the man was and how he thought and operated.
So tell me the story. This story that this film tells.
When he was elected president, the country was smoldering. It was ready to explode.
They were not prepared to accept him.
They were not prepared.
Some of them.
Yeah.
Right. And they were inside every institution in South Africa.
Yes. You had Buthelezi over here with the Zulus. You had the Afrikaners over here with the nationalists, and you had the ANC, this huge number of angry people ready to take revenge. And then all the firepower over here with the Afrikaners. And the Zulus not necessarily wanting to be controlled by the ANC. So these three factions are ready to go at each other's throats. What is he going to do to settle this, to quiet this, to pour water on this smoldering fire? And it's a big challenge for him, huge. And I think he got the idea, and I don't say this with any certain knowledge, when it was reported to him that the Sports Commission were voting to disband the Springboks, to eliminate everything there was about the Springboks.
Springboks being the South African rugby team.
Yeah, the symbol of apartheid and its brutality. And he went and told them that is a mistake, and explained to them why, and had them take the vote again, and they changed the vote. Now he's got something he can work with. He goes to the UN. He asked to let them have the rugby World Cup in South Africa, and this is a country that had been sanctioned for years, and they couldn't play any place. They said, okay. He goes back and he said the World Cup is going to be played here. Then he says in so many words, and we have to win it. That's why he called on Francois Pienaar.
Played by Matt
Damon, and said, how do we inspire our people to greatness? Made that wonderful speech about exceeding your own expectations. Says we must all exceed our own expectations. And Pienaar understood he wants us to win the World Cup. And they did. And it was every South African today who was alive on that date in 1995 remembers it like we remember the death of JFK.
The president, yeah. Because it
was magic. It was the country was just it came together as one, and it never quite separated. This is the thing. This was the most powerful thing about it, that it never quite separated, never went back to its old self. It does. They still have problems, of course, but
it was a different country.
It was a different country. Still is.
And the genius is he understood the possibility.
Yes. That's why he says sports has the power to change the world.
To reach out.
Yeah.
The poem. From William Ernest Henley.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
That poem was his favorite poem. And as he explains to Pinard one time, when he lost courage, when he felt like just giving up, just lie down and not get up again, he would recite it. And it would give him what he needed to keep going.
Can you recite it? If you can't, there are some words.
Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole. I learned it when I was in school.
Yeah. Did you really?
Yeah. I think whatever God there may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of fate, my head is bloody, but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the shadow of the shade. Yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me, unafraid.
God.
Matters not how straight the gate, how punishment charged the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.
This is a magical moment in the history of this show to hear you do that.
Wow. Thank you.
And he had it, and he memorized it, and it was his anchor.
Yeah. Yeah.
When the winds were at their worst.
Yeah. Yeah. And he wrote this poem out and gave it to Francois.
Yeah.
And I think it served the purpose it needed to serve. Because when Francois and the team visited Robben Island, this poem played in Francois's head. And I think he knew then that not only did they have to win, but would.
I want to see some clips and have you talk about them some. We've already covered some of the area. But first, how did you get Clint Eastwood involved?
I know that Clint is very script-oriented. You can't send him a script that needs work.
Nor is he interested in improvising every day.
No, not at all. Not at all. Or doing rewrites while he's trying to shoot.
Yes.
So I had what I thought was a perfect script. And we've had two outings together in which we were quite successful.
Yes, I would say so.
And I thought, okay, so
$1 Million Baby and Unforgiven, if you are short of memory.
And I thought the perfect director for this would be Clint.
Because you knew what about him?
His feel for storytelling. He's a master. He really is. He knows if a story is dragging, if it needs. I don't know how to tell you what it is, but he's a master storyteller. If you've seen any of the movies that he's directed, they move along. There's no moment when you want to turn your head or get up and go get popcorn. He's really good at that.
What is that? That's part of his genius. What else?
Casting, setup. His set is. He says, he likes to have a set that it encourages actors to feel secure, and he does. It's quiet, and everybody who works with him wants to keep working with him.
Yes. Here's a montage of films directed by Clint Eastwood featuring Morgan Freeman. Take a look.
Police.
Yeah, let me go back to Clint for a second.
Yes.
You think he should have won?
Absolutely. I think he should have
for
won
Best Actor
Academy.
in Million Dollar
Best Actor
Baby.
for Million Dollar Baby. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Here's what he said about you at this table. Roll tape. Do you direct someone like Morgan Freeman?
Well, we talk about the part a little bit, but what I do is I just he'll come up with suggestions. We come up, and he's got
He's a one-eyed person who lost his eye in a fight.
Lens in his eye, and we talk about little technical things, but we don't really. What I do is let actors act until not being done properly. If something's going wrong or the character's going off, then I'll start questioning it and I'll start talking about it. But I'm not one to use a lot of energy in conversation. I feel it unnerves the actors sometimes and breaks down their confidence. I don't want to do that. I like to set an atmosphere of which a person can work with the most confidence, and they have to have. And I like to have people be confident in their instincts. And a guy like Morgan Freeman has terrific instincts.
I don't want to use a lot of extra words, a lot of extra energy.
No, he doesn't. He told one actor one time, we wanted to just talk about the part. He says, let's not screw it up by talking it to death.
Is that right? Script is important to you. I mean, you rely on a script if it's good.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you don't need to go do and watch every film on Nelson Mandela. You'd already met him. You didn't need to read every book.
No.
You didn't need to find. It was there in the script.
Most of it's on the page. There are things about Madiba that you want to do, just because they sort of establish him for you. You know, if you watch him sometimes and he's talking, he'll do something like, do that. Well, you know. And so you would do that. You know, it galvanizes people who really know him. You know, it's just because his daughter said, "How do you know to do that?"
Let me hear the voice again.
When you want to speak to someone, I think it is important that you speak softly.
I agree with. So how did you get that? Is that just, did you have diction coaches and that kind of stuff?
No, I had a lot of tapes of him in office, greeting people, talking to his staff, just being, you know, not in front of a big crowd. But I had those too. But the most important ones are when he's just having a conversation with someone or talking to his aides or something.
Playing a living person.
Yeah.
Harder?
More challenging.
Challenging.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I've done it twice. A picture called "Lean on Me." I played a principal.
Right. In a high school.
Yeah, we shot it at his school. He was there every day.
Joe Clark.
And every morning, he was the most amazing man. Joe was. I would go with him in the morning. I'd go find him, and he would go out into the hallways and greet the kids as they were coming in, and to see how those kids responded to him, what a positive image he was in their lives. And he called names, just almost every kid in the school. And he was always asking about family and how was your mom, and did she get the card I sent, and did you do that? And it's just on these kids, you know. And he said he never chastised them. He would delegate that to someone else.
He inspired them.
Yeah. But he was the one I learned about holding hands with, because he had high energy level. Yeah. A lot going on in Joe all the time. So to play him, you get that going.
You started on stage here in New York.
Yeah.
Made your first film in the 80s, I think, wasn't it?
Well, actually, I was my first film in 1969, but it was something with Jack Klugman. What I remember about it is that they kept rewriting it, trying to get more for me to do in it. I was very flattered.
But you have no desire to go back?
No, listen, as a kid, growing all the way up, I always wanted to be in the movies. And so on stage in New York, you do a play, you get good reviews, and all your friends will say, "Oh, yeah, this is going to take you to the coast. This is the one," you know. Yeah. And it took forever, it seemed like.
To your 50s?
Yeah, until I was about 50 years old.
Yeah. Now, is that better in some ways?
Oh, yes, it has to be, you know, because that's the way it was.
Yeah, exactly. That's the only thing you know. You weren't a hotshot like, say, Warren Beatty at 22 or something.
No.
Yeah. But it does give you some grounding, too.
Oh, yeah. I think that what happened with me was what should have happened with me, you know. It's just, you know, hey, bide the time, do your work, and when it happens, you'll be ready.
And thank God for longevity.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Is there a role you want to play? It used to be bandied about that Morgan had to play Othello before he died.
Well, I did, and died.
Puts you in a crowd with everybody else, doesn't it?
I'm telling you. Yeah.
I mean, it's like, what is it about that role?
I don't know. I'm telling you, but it is very, very difficult to play. You know, I didn't. You can't play what you can't believe in. You know?
Yeah.
And he's hard to believe in, really. And when I did it at the for the Civic Light Opera in Dallas, Texas, at an amphitheater. And I had this costume with the headband on and harem pants and jacket, and I walked out on stage, and somebody way in the back said, "Sing Purple Haze." So, I had this big afro. I looked exactly like Jimi Hendrix.
That's great. It's just hard to be Othello when they want you to be when they want you to be Jimi Hendrix.
Right out the window.
That's great. So there's no other character or no other person, or no other there's no Mandela.
There is no Mandela, but there was a Western I always wanted to do, and this was another. He's not living.
You and I have talked about this, but remind me.
Bass Reeves was his name.
Exactly.
And he was hired by Isaac Parker.
Yeah.
Who hired 150, 200 deputy marshals, because his mandate from the United States government was to clean up the frontier, which was Oklahoma territory, Indian territory, where all the outlaws were. And he was one of the great deputy marshals we don't know about.
But why can't we get this movie made?
Can't get a script. Can't get a script, yeah. Hardest thing about making any movie
is getting a script. That's why you'll see 17 different scripts.
Yeah.
But why is that so hard? Because different people do different aspects of script writing.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
Some are good at dialogue. Some are good at
plotting,
narrative.
Yeah.
Some are good at character.
It's most of the time everybody has a sort of a formula, you know, for writing, and pretty soon when you read enough of them, you spot them. So, well, I need someone who's clever, not formulaic.
No, exactly. But Clint loves to direct. He likes to mix it up.
Yes.
You don't.
No, and he's done acting. He said, this is it. He's having a great time directing. He's always working. But, he used to mix it up.
Are you capable of a poor performance?
Oh, yeah.
Are you really?
Mm-hmm.
And you know it?
Yes. Yeah.
Then why would you have a poor performance?
Well, I take a job for money and not believe what I'm doing.
How many times have you done that?
Once or twice.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
no.
Zip it up, Morgan. There's nothing to be gained.
Nothing to be gained by that.
That's the truth. You did a couple of times. You did it for money, but everything else has been done for
love of a good script or a good character,
and the love of acting.
Well, yeah, that
Right.
I think that's the first
You
order of
love
business.
doing it. That's why you and I are lucky.
Yeah,
you do what you love.
I really love doing it.
Yeah.
Because I think I was born to do it, and I'm lucky enough to have gotten the chance to live it. Actually be able to make a good living doing it.
It's been everything you wanted.
Everything I wanted. Yeah.
And all those characters, from Mandela to Unforgiven to, I had a list of them here. It was just unbelievable.
Go all the way back to the pimp and Street Smart.
Yeah, exactly. All the way back. And just go through them from working with Jack and Bucket.
Yeah.
To
the Bucket List.
Bucket List.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Robert Redford in An Unfinished Life.
Yeah. Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah. Tim Robbins.
So you're going to put only 5 of them
up
in
on
a
the board.
Special place. Yeah.
Okay. Which ones would it be?
Yes, sir.
All 3 of the ones with Clint.
Unforgiven.
$1 Million Baby.
$1 Million Baby. And
Invictus.
Those 3 out of the 5 right there.
Yeah.
Well, let's make it 10 then.
Glory.
Denzel.
Yeah. I put Street Smart in because it was such a wonderful character.
Yeah.
I really liked playing. And that was the movie that just sort of like pumped me, showed me right into Hollywood.
Because they said what after seeing that?
Who is that guy?
Because he compelled them to watch on the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They didn't know me in Hollywood. They knew me in New York.
Yeah.
It was a big thing for me. And the glory part of that movie coming out was it came out the same month that we opened Driving Miss Daisy on stage.
I was going to mention that, yeah.
Yeah.
Where would you put that? That's in the top 10?
Yeah, absolutely.
A pretty good actress, too.
Pretty good actress. And both on the stage.
On the
and
stage.
in the
Who
movie.
did it on stage?
Dana Ivey. Oh. Wonderful actress.
And Jessica Tandy did it.
And Jessica did it in the movies, yeah. I had a wonderful time. Interesting thing about working with Jessica on that movie was that she wouldn't go and come near me. We shot it in sequence.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she would hardly speak, And as the movie progressed, our friendship progressed. She did it just the way Miss Daisy did it.
And so she was right, because it worked for her.
It worked for her. It worked for me, too, actually, Yeah, it didn't take me very long to understand what she was doing. Yeah.
Could you look at the films of the last 10 years and say, let me show you why I'm getting better and better, why I'm improving, what I've learned? What I've learned is the best question.
No.
Couldn't?
No.
You don't know what you're doing different today than what you did.
I don't feel like I'm doing anything different today.
You got it at a certain page, and now you're just simply giving it different voices.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's my take on it. That's what I think. I've always been pretty good at it. And of course, it doesn't matter what it is that you do. If you continue to do it, you're going to get better at it. Why you're getting better, I'm not quite sure.
Right, I know you can't.
You can identify.
I want to come back to Invictus. This is a conversation between Morgan and Matt Damon, in which you're talking about the poem that Freeman read so brilliantly. Here it is.
And it helps.
Matt did a good job too, didn't he?
He did a great job, and that was a magic day of filming. We shot that scene all day. With all the different setups from the time he comes into the office until we finish that little scene there. And I'm asked of all of the scenes in the movie, which ones were your best, and that was one I walked away with thinking, gosh, that was great.
No, because?
Well, it's just the connection that was made between Matt and I with character, There were those two guys, and it was just great fun. I couldn't even get out of character that day. You know, just kept.
He walked around as Nelson Mandela.
As Nelson Mandela, yeah. And there's a guy named Saul Kirshner who's is a
There's a
real
company
estate
called
developer.
Sun West or Sun something.
Your son, well, he has a big.
Sun Resorts. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
he has these Atlantis hotels.
Exactly.
And he opened a hotel in Cape Town, I think it was, called The One and Only. And
Right. He's got a series called The One and Only.
Yeah, and the night after we shot that scene, the night of that scene, we went to this big opening. And I was still walking around as Mandela.
This is great. Yes. Yeah.
I couldn't give it up.
Yeah. Has he seen it, the movie?
Yes. Yeah.
Have you talked to him?
No. I mean, I was sitting right next to him while we were watching it. You know, I was looking at him. You know. The one thing he said when first saw the character, and he says, Lee Dolan says, "I know that fellow."
That's great. Yes, I know that fellow. You know, he's had a remarkable second marriage, though.
Yes, yes. Graça Michelle, wonderful lady.
Mm.
Yeah.
And his sense of his own legacy is what?
Nobody remembers.
Nobody remembers. Are you serious?
Serious.
Nobody remembers. Nobody remembers him. Nobody remembers the struggle.
Nobody remembers him.
Him.
The struggle will never go away, but he doesn't know if his part in it is appreciated.
He told you that.
He just says it.
I don't know if anybody will remember.
Wow. You know him. He's just an old man now. He has this wonderful personal assistant, a lady who's by his side all the time. And her name is Zelda Lagrange.
Yeah.
And I mean, she loves him. And she's like his right and left hands and his conscience and his memory and all of that, you know. And she reassures him, you know.
This is part of what makes, in my sense, what makes what you do so incredible. Not only do you get to inhabit and understand the character, the power, the life of people over a wide range, you get to travel, you get to meet them, you get to feel. I mean, this is...
Yeah. That's you get it.
Yeah. and you get to work with people that you really admire. I mean, if you are where you are, you end up with Clint Eastwood, Jack Nicholson, and on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
People.
I'm at a point where I can call Sidney Poitier friend. That's amazing.
Means what to you?
Sidney Poitier was my beacon. He was my guiding star as a kid, as a young man trying to get into this business. And it was that sense that you can do it. Knowing where he came from, read all of his history, you know, his life story. Young kid from Cat Island in the Bahamas, washing dishes in New York City in the wintertime, listening to the radio, trying to get rid of that heavy Bahamian accent that he had, and turning into this man that he is now. It's like,
well, he, like you, people would say, if they did not exist, we would have to create them. It's true. It's class, it's dignity. It's him.
Yes.
But you go back to Mississippi.
Yes.
Why do you go back to Mississippi? Not that I don't like Mississippi.
No.
In which you have the choice of anywhere in the world.
Yeah. When I left, and I graduated from high school.
Right.
Like smoke, gone.
Me too. Yes, right.
But I did, traveled around.
Find a place where you can stand.
Yeah. And in all the places I went to, the thing about Mississippi is it's racial. It's racial thing, And I found it everywhere. It exists everywhere on some level. And I started going back to Mississippi in the 70s. My parents had moved back, bought land, and were well ensconced there. And just go back, and it's quiet and lovely. And so, this has always been the comfort zone for me. So
you go to the supermarket, and they know who you are, but they don't need to ask you for anything.
Right. I can go buy a tube of toothpaste without becoming an event.
Yeah, exactly, because they've seen you before,
mm-hmm.
And proud of it. There is also this about you. At 65 years old, you got your pilot's license.
Mm-hmm.
As a young man, you went into the Air Force.
Yeah.
As a mechanic?
Well, I went in my line as a jet pilot. But when I came out of basic training, I was going to go to radar school as a radar mechanic.
Right.
Yeah, something I have no aptitude for at all.
Radar. You've been in because you wanted to fly. Way back then, you wanted to fly.
Yeah.
And you didn't get your license until 65, which is important for two reasons. One, you still got them.
Yeah, still got it. Yeah.
But go ahead.
Flying a jet.
A jet now?
Oh, yeah. It's my third. Again.
Do you sail anymore?
I haven't sailed in I guess maybe coming up on 4 years now. I got busy, and then I had the accident. So I effectively
automobile accident.
Yeah, I effectively don't have the use of my fingers on my left hand, and that old saying, "One hand for yourself and one for the ship," it's very true. So if you only got one, who's going to be for?
So you're working on it.
Yeah. Constantly.
You once said that you wanted to go to sea on your boat. You wanted to sail into the ocean because there was something elemental about it. It was life and death if you didn't know what you were doing.
Yeah.
You were tempting the gods.
You are. I live a life of make-believe. And beyond a life of make-believe, there has to be a life of reality. And you and the sea, that is the ultimate reality. The ultimate reality is being at sea, on a boat. My stomach is talking to me, too.
And there's nowhere to go.
No, you can't run.
You can't go downstairs and go next door.
No, you can go down below, and people have died that way. Panic is the one thing you have to stand up and face at sea when things get bad, when they really get bad, when you learn how implacable nature is.
I got one more minute here. Do you worry about that? This is not about mortality and death and all of that, but not being able to do this thing, that you won't have an opportunity to do what it is you have done so magnificently in your life? Create characters, tell stories.
Do I worry about it?
Yeah.
Not anymore.
You mean after your success, you stopped worrying?
Yeah. Once I got a job on the stage, my first job, I got press, good press.
Yeah. Never stopped, did it?
Yeah, and you don't need much if this is what you really want to do. You don't need much in the way of reassurance. and you know, for the New York press to say, "Wow, that's it, you're off and running," and just feel like, okay, I can do this. I can make this work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great to see you.
Always.
Morgan Freeman for the hour. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time.